Okay, everybody, let's break down child's pose. It's a common one. It's often referred to in a yoga practice as sort of the home base. It's a pose that we come to when we need to time out, when we need to pause. But child's pose really has a benefit of coming back to ourselves, coming back to calm. And so a lot of times when we're in a yoga sequence and we're moving in and out of standing poses or balanced poses, we come back to child's pose to gather the breath and to come back into ourselves. So it's used as more of a restorative pose. It's incredibly grounding, though. Oftentimes we might start our practice in child's pose, which some yogis say is returning to the innocence of who we are. And then we move through the practice and we return time and time again to ourselves. So I'm going to show you child's pose. Now, some people prefer to have their knees stuck together like this in child's pose, but you can also have your big toes touching and your knees wide. Either one is fine if you're practicing child's pose. It's really based on your comfort in your hips and in your low back. So I'm going to go ahead and keep my legs wide because that feels better in my hips. And then I do have a blanket and a chihuahua, but he's going to have to move. And then you also can use your block to bring the floor higher, depending on if this is so hard for you, if you just can't get there. Here's what I see a lot of times. People are in child's pose like this. It's okay, but let's give you some options to kind of get conquered into that child's pose by using props. So we're going to set our bodies up, hips are to the heels, and then we're going to just lay our belly onto our thighs and rest our forehead either on the blanket or a block. Arms stretch out in front. Now, it's important that the forehead reaches something, whether that's two fists stacked on top of each other, if it's a yoga block that we press our forehead in, or we make it all the way to the blanket or the floor. That pressure point in our forehead between the eyes is what really slows down the thoughts when we put a little pressure there. So we want, when we're in child's pose and we're coming back to ourselves, we're taking that time out in our practice, or we're beginning our practice, we don't want to be thinking about our entire day or what comes next. We want to quiet down those thoughts. So that's where child's pose with the pressure on the third eye or the forehead is so important. So I'm just going to spill over, find my forehead on the blanket, and then I'm going to extend my arms out in front. And it's okay for the spine to round. You might soften your forearms onto the ground. You're going to feel your breath as your belly inflates against your legs. Now, some people like to take their hands behind and just lay them on their feet. That feels nice. You're in this tiny little shell of yourself. It feels really good. It can be comforting. It can be quieting. It can be grounding. And then you would just simply come on up. And this child's pose is great for 3 to 5 minutes if you can handle that on your knees. If your knees just cannot do child's pose, I'm going to show you how you can get the same benefit by using child's pose in a chair. Now, of course, we can have a couple chairs in our practice, which is nice, but I want to show you just how to simply use one chair to get into child's pose. I have seen child's pose done where I'm sitting in a chair and I have another chair and my arms go this way and I'm sort of reaching out. That's beautiful. Not everybody has access to a couple chairs or the space for a couple chairs. So let me show you what child's pose in a chair can look like if you simply have perhaps your wheelchair, or maybe you're sitting in a sofa and you don't have another chair. The block is going to come in handy. I'm going to turn. So my legs are shaped as if I was on the floor. I'm just not quite in that deep knee flexion, but I'm just hanging out. So here's the floor, right? I'm sort of just hanging out. Now I'm going to spill over, belly to thighs, and I'm going to rest my head on the block. Okay. So it looks a lot like a forward fold, but remember, forward folds, we're hinging from the hip crease, really straight spine. Child's pose, we're rounding into ourselves, resting the head on the block. Maybe the arms hang, maybe the arms come to the low back, maybe the arms cradle the block. The idea is we're quieting down the body, simply quieting down the body. So that's a variation of child's pose in a chair. You can also lay a pillow here and just sort of lay over. Any way that you can find comfort. I've seen child's pose this way, where the belly is on the bolster, the hands come to the forehead, and you quiet this way. So either way works. The trick and the most important part of child's pose is that we are closing down the thoughts by pushing attention into the forehead. So from seated version, if your knees don't like being on the floor for child's pose, you can spill over and put pressure by using a block or a bolster. That's child's pose. It's one to come to at least once a day. It's a good one.